Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannawadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. Om. Dear friends, we are seeing the third chapter, that is the Karma Yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. And we were reading shloka number 5, that is Nahi Kaschit Kshanamapi Jatu Tishtatya Karmakru. Krishna is basically analyzing human nature. In fact, Bhagavad Gita, basically it is an analysis of human nature. In fact, if you go to the later chapters like Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga, different types of Shraddha, Sattva, Rajas, Tamo Guna, basically an analysis of human nature. So that is the reason why nowadays many management experts, they do talk about Gita, management in Gita, etc., etc. So Bhagavad Gita is not something nowadays in Andhra Pradesh and some other places. Andhra Pradesh means in Telugu states. It is so happening that Bhagavad Gita means it is something which is played when somebody dies. When somebody dies and there is a funeral ceremony, in that funeral ceremony, that vehicle will be playing Bhagavad Gita. And even at the cremation ground, there will be a record that Bhagavad Gita is being played. So people are afraid of reading Gita. People think that, it is something which is related to death and whatnot. It is not related to death. It is related to life. It is related to pravrutti dharma. How a person has to conduct himself in life and what exactly is the human nature. So Krishna is here saying that karyate hyavashah karma sarvaha prakrutijair gunaihi. I was telling you what is this prakriti. Prakriti means, I was telling you what is that supreme reality called Brahma. That Brahma manifests as this whole universe. And when the manifesting power, in fact, in scientific terms, if you want to say, science also nowadays, modern physics says that the primary thing is what is called intelligence, and that intelligence is something which is appearing as matter. That is one view. Another view is intelligence is something which is originating from matter. Scientists have not yet resolved. The people who say that consciousness or intelligence is primary, and from that intelligence this matter is appearing. And there are some other people who say matter is there, matter is primary, and from matter this intelligence is appearing. So scientists have not yet resolved. But Vedanta says it is consciousness which is primary. The very fact that Vedanta has scientifically approached this whole issue, it has to impress us. Why I repeatedly say is that it is not something to do with religion. Religion simply says, okay, there is some God somewhere, and that God is commanding you to do this, do that, etc., etc. Vedanta does not say that. Vedanta wants to know, wants you to analyze what you are, wants you to examine your personality, your layers of personality, how you are connected with the universe, and what is that supreme reality. It is asking us to investigate. That is what is called Atma Vichara. Vichara means that investigation. So here he is saying Prakrutijair Gunaihi. There are three gunas, that is Sattva, Rajas and Tamo Guna. Guna means, one meaning of guna is characteristic. And it is not exactly characteristic, it is a component. It is not exactly something like a goodness or badness, something like that. It is a component. And this is something, guna also means a rope. What does a rope do? Rope, we use it to bind something. So guna is something which also binds us. So this sattva guna, it manifests in a human being as, say, somebody who is quiet, calm, contented, serene. He has got some aptitude for knowledge. What are his aptitudes? So for example, in government, we have this what are called confidential reports. In those confidential reports, there are so many parameters on which a person is evaluated. So is he having, say, patience? Is he having inclination to work? Or is he having attitude, drive, initiative and drive? So various questions, about 100 questions like that will be there. All those 100 questions fall under Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna. So is he Tamo Guna character? Is he having initiative or drive? Which means, is he a Tamo Guna person who is lacking initiative and drive, or is he having some initiative and drive? A person is, some little bit of Rajo Guna is needed in a person. And that Rajo Guna has to be tempered by Sattva Guna, not merely foolishly moving ahead, but he has to wisely move ahead. That wisdom, is he having it or not? Is he having that inclination to learn or not? These are all the questions. So Sattva, Rajas, Tamo Guna, they manifest in human beings in these three forms. So in all the human beings, nowadays all the personality tests, whatever personality tests or whatever annual confidential reports we write, all those things are dependent on these three gunas only. We don't use this term three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamo Guna, but The description of this is what we see in those confidential reports. So a human being is impelled, he is as though he is programmed, as though he is conditioned. A person in Sattva Guna, he necessarily, he tries to, he is basically a contented man. He has some aptitude for knowledge. He will try to read and he will try to know. He will go to a satsang. He will have some good company. So like that. A person with Rajoguna, with that Rajoguna, a predominance of Rajoguna, he wants to be, for example, a Neta, let us say. He wants to be an important man. He wants to be an achiever, and he wants to make some money. That also is there. And Tamoguna, a person who is predominantly having that Tamoguna, that person, he is somebody who is dull and then who is not having any great inclination, and then he is not contented. It is not contentment due to wisdom, contentment due to laziness. So that contentment due to wisdom is different from contentment due to laziness. So that Tamoguna is that, where a person does not have initiative, drive, a person is supposed to be driven, a person he has to be prodded, etc., etc. So, a person is karyate hyavashah karma. A person is driven by these things and then he does action. So, that is why I was saying this management of human activity is something which is very well analyzed, very well done in our Dharmashastras. So, they have created a lifetime timetable by creating huge Dharmashastra, great network of activities which a person has to do in various stages of life and in various levels or various strata of society. So, this is what we see in this shloka. The next shloka again is an important shloka where he is talking about some gentleman who wants to forcibly control his karmendriyas, forcibly control his karmendriya. Karmendriya means, we know there are two types of indriyas. Indriya means organs. One is sense organs. My eye is something which is seeing. My nose is something which is smelling. These are the sense organs. And there is what is then organs of action. My hand, vak, pani, pada, payu. There are 5 karmendriyas and 5 jnanendriyas. Jnanendriyas, these 5 we know. That is through which we get jnanam. Because through these things we get all these sense impressions. These sense impressions are carried to the mind, and where the mind is something like a processor. This mind processes all these things. So that is why these are called jnanendriyas. Karmendriyas means that is where organs of action. This jnana is something okay, but after getting some jnanam or knowledge of a particular thing, you are also going after that. So if you want to go for that, you have to walk. So that is walking means leg, feet comes into action. You have to go and catch something, hand comes into action. So these 5 karmendriyas are walk, that is speech. You are supposed, when the first point of interaction is speech. Whether it is good speech or bad speech, whatever it is, whether you are speaking to your lover or whether you are speaking to your boss, whether you are speaking to your friend, whatever it is, that is speech. Walk, pani. Pani means hand. You are holding something, you are catching something. Pada. Pada is leg. When you are moving to some place. Pada. What else do we have? Vak, pani, pada, payu. Payu means the organ of excretion. That also has been counted because that is also an action. Then upastha. Upastha means the organ for enjoyment. The organ for enjoyment, that is sexual organ for enjoyment. These 5 are called the karmendriyani. So these karmendriyani, they are also important, like jnanendriyani. These karmendriyani also are important. So a person, this particular shloka number 6, Krishna is describing a person who is forcibly controlling these karmendriyas, but then he has not been able to restrain his mind. The mind is still loitering, the mind is still running after them. So that is the person. I will read this shloka. Karmendriyani sanyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyacharasa uchyate. So he is talking about a person who has forcibly controlled some karmendriyani samyamya. Samyamya means forcibly having controlled them. So suppose I have a desire for something, to grab something, but if I go and grab it, I may be beaten up. So I forcibly control myself, but then my mind is still working on that. So that is the sanyam. This forcible controlling, forcible restraint is that. So karmendriyani sanyamya ya aste manasasmaran. A person whose mind is still dwelling on those things. And sometimes our Swamijis give another example. Swamijis give some examples on this shloka. Usually our senior Swamijis, they give example of, for example, a person takes up sannyasa. He thinks, okay, I am doing a good thing, I am taking up sannyasa, I am on the jnana path, etc., etc. But after going and staying in the ashram, then again he will be thinking about what is happening to his house, and then what is happening to his wife, and then how the property is being divided, and the children, are they doing well or not. He keeps on thinking about those things. So that is one way. And Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he has got a parable on this. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, we know that there are parables of Ramakrishna. They are also very interesting, basically illustrating all these things. One parable talks about a sannyasi. That sannyasi is staying on this side of the road, and on the other side of the road there is one dancing girl. And the sannyasi is watching every evening. There are some visitors who are coming to see that girl, and then some dancing girl. So the sannyasi, every day he thinks, okay, this dancing girl, he is receiving so many people, every night people are coming and going, she will surely go to hell. And that woman, she is also watching this, she is also seeing this sannyasi, oh, what a holy man is he is a good man, he is such a great man. I am such a sinner, he is such a great man. So she is thinking like that. So both of them, they both die. So like that, Aastha Manasasmaran. His mind is wandering on that, whereas he has not physically controlled his mind, he has not wisely controlled his mind. This is what is called a Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. In Shankaracharya's Bhashyam, in Brahma Sutra Bhashya, he talks about four things, that is Sadhana Chatushtaya. Sadhana Chatushtaya are needed. Chatushtaya means four, like Dushta Chatushtaya. So sadhana chatushtaya means fourfold sadhanas, four means. What are they? That is the very first thing is nitya, anitya vastu viveka. A person has to do some viveka or investigation or analysis of what is a good thing or a bad thing. Nitya, and that is what is something which is valued in life, and what is something which is not valued in life, and what is eternal and what is ephemeral. Nitya literally means eternal, and what is ephemeral. Ephemeral means something which is transient. That is Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. And that Viveka leads him to Vairagya. Viveka leads to some sort of dispassion. So this dispassion and Viveka, they are like two wings of a bird. Two wings of a bird. Shankaracharya in one place says, Viveka and Vairagya, they are like two wings of a bird. That is for the seeker to fly, and go and sit on the building called Jnana, Jnana Saudham. Jnana Saudham, he says. That palace called Jnanam. If the bird has to go and sit on that palace, so this Viveka and Vairagya, they are the two wings with which the man has to go and fly and sit there. So that is a wonderful example which Shankaracharya gives in the Viveka Chudamani. So anyway, Karmendriyani Sanyamya Ye Aasthe Manasasmaran Indriyarthan Vimudhatma. Vimudhatma means a totally deluded person. He thinks he is doing something great, but he is not doing anything great. He thinks he is okay, I am on the right path, I am on a great path, I am on a noble path. But then he has not controlled his mind in a wise manner. So Krishna is using a strong word, Mithyacharasya uchyate. Mithyachara. Mithyachara. Mithya means something totally false. That is a hypocritical person. A person, totally a hypocritical person. Mithyacharasya uchyate. Then the next shloka talks about how, then if that is a mithyachara, then what should one do? So instead of being a mithyachara, and instead of renouncing all the karmas, you please do some karma. That is what he says. A person, what we have seen in this Karmendriyani Sanyamya, that's shloka number 6, is a person is not doing any karma. A person has renounced all the mandated actions, but at the same time, the person is thinking that he is on the right path, he is on the path of jnana, whereas he is not on the path of jnana because his mind is not yet purified. So Krishna says, so long as your mind is not purified, you please keep doing karma. That is doing karma in that karma yoga mode. Not doing karma that is desiring the fruit of action and whatnot, desiring punyam, I have to acquire punyam, etc. Most of us, we are so fascinated by punyam. In fact, Vedanta, the very first thing Vedanta says is, don't get fascinated by punyam, because every time we want to go to rush, there is such a huge queue to Tirupati and to so many places. Why? People want some punyam, punyam, punyam. Why? What do you get in punyam? Vedanta says the more punyam you have, the more, okay, you will go to heaven. And what is heaven? Heaven is not the ultimate. Heaven is ultimate maybe in religion. In a religion, okay, there is some God and then he is going to send you to heaven. And what do you have in heaven? Extension of physical pleasures. Whatever are physical pleasures here, okay, you have a wife, you have some nice food, you have a nice drink, etc. In heaven again, what are you going to have? You will have some more, some religion tells about some virgins, etc. Okay, there are some women, there are some dancers, there are some apsaras, etc. You have some wine, you have got, maybe you have a local wine here, there is a divine wine, and you will have some nice food, etc., etc. So, heaven is an extension of physical pleasures, and that is not the ultimate goal according to Vedanta. Heaven is something which is tentatively accepted. Heaven is not accepted at, let us have this point very, very clearly in mind. Religion talks about heaven. Vedanta does not talk about heaven. Religion says heaven is something which is there, which is very much there. It is something which is a reality. But Vedanta says heaven is not something. It is that only tentatively it is accepted in order to keep human being on the right path. That is why it is called a sort of the lower level of reality. It is not the higher level of reality, but it is a lower level of reality. That it is not fully accepted. It is accepted, okay, tentatively it is keeping people on the good path. So long as it is keeping people on the good path, it is useful. So tentatively it is accepted. So Vedanta does not give a lot of value to punyam, because punyam is as bad as papam. Because punyam also is binding and papam also is binding. So here this next shloka says, a person, it is better to do karma in that karma yoga mode. Karma yoga mode again, that is not seeking that punyam. Not seeking that punyam, do good to do all socially useful actions, all the actions which are benefiting others. So do such actions without seeking the fruit of those actions. So that is what he says. I will read the shloka. Yas vindriyani manasa niyamya arabhate arjuna karmendriyaih karma yogam asaktasya vishishyate. In fact, compared to a person who has renounced actions and then who has taken up sannyasa, but who is not having a jnanam, and a person who is doing action in the karma yoga mode, this person who is doing actions in the karma yoga mode, he is a better person, he excels. Sannyasa without jnanam is of no use. Sannyasa has to necessarily lead to jnanam. If that sannyasa is not leading to jnanam, instead of doing that sannyasa, it is better to do karma yoga, because karma yoga is at least useful for the society, whereas the other gentleman is not even useful for the society. So that is what he says. Yastu, yahatu. In Sanskrit, tu means on the other hand. Yahatu, indriyani manasani yamya. He has controlled his indriyas by his mind. That is in a wise manner. Indriyani manasani yamya. Not forcibly, he is not forcibly sitting afraid of the policeman there or afraid of something else there, but he has done some vichara, and then because of viveka he has restrained his mind and senses. Indriyani manasani yamya arabhate arjuna. Then karmendriyahi karma yogam. Then he is doing, all his karmendriyas, they are actively moving, and he is in that karma yoga mode. And karma yoga, we have seen what is karma yoga. Elaborately we have seen, that is Ishwararpana buddhya karma. Whatever karma I am doing, it is done with that Ishwararpana buddhi. When I say, okay, whatever I am doing, it is an offering to the God, it is an offering to that Almighty, or it is an offering to that divine, that cosmic being, then certainly my actions will be purified. Why? Because I cannot go to a gambling place, I will not go to some other drinking place and then say all my action is an offering to God. And I will not go to any place of ill repute. And I will not, if I go to a place of ill repute, I will not say, okay, this is an offering to Lord. I cannot say. So naturally, many actions will be filtered. Many actions will be filtered. So that is how, when you are in that karma yoga mode, automatically the actions get filtered. So that is what we see here. And in fact, this karma yoga is something which is there in the Upanishads also. I will tell you maybe tomorrow. because this Isha, there is one Upanishad called Ishavasya Upanishad, very, very small Upanishad called Ishavasya Upanishad. In that Upanishad, the very first mantra, the first two mantras, they talk about what is the current, what Krishna has called here, Sankhya Nishtha, Jnana Nishtha, and what is called Karma Nishtha. I will explain it to you tomorrow. Harihi Om Tat Sat.